Okay, now we're going to start building up the differentials. So there's two of them. This is going to be the front one. It's going to have an output shaft and input shaft. Also, these are the parts that we're going to start with. This is going to make up the pumpkin or the third member. Got the two halves, two washers, the for the spider gears, the three spider gears, and the front gear and the rear gear on this. So to start with, this is where it gets a little messy. We're going to put a little grease in here, and eventually we're going to fill it up with grease. Then we're going to put a washer, a thin washer, like that. A little more grease, and then this gear. Okay. All right. So now that we got that done, the next thing that's going to go in is our spider gears. So we're going to take our spider gears, put them on this. Okay, they're going to set. Got on the star shaft, we got the spider gears. The spider gears are going to set in here like this. They got a little notch that each one of them goes in. And now this is where it gets a little messy. We're going to have to fill this up with grease. Just fill it all the way up. I'm using Lucas Marine Gray grease. But you can use any kind of grease really. But the thicker grease is the better for this. Okay, so we got grease in there. Now we're going to come over here to this piece, put a little grease in there, put the washer and the other gear. Then we're going to fill this up with grease. So we got that filled up with grease. Then we're going to take this side and put it over this. Okay. Now I'm going to wipe the grease off my fingers first before I go to the screws. And you got three little screws. These three little screws are BC2s, and they go in. Got a little Allen wrench that came with the kit, or you can use your own. So you're going to tighten these up snugly. Okay, and really and truly, you don't have to clean the grease off of it. You can leave the grease on it on the outside because you're going to be adding more grease to it anyway. So. And now we're going to work on the axles. You got one short shaft and one longer shaft. And this shaft, whenever it's together, is going to go inside here. It's going to go through here like this, okay? And then you got these clips that you have to put on the axles. These clips can be a little tricky. You can go ahead and put one on each one of them. One way you can do it is just gets a little aggravating to do it. Well, I got one clip on this shaft. Okay, this is the longer shaft, and that's this one here. So it's going to get two bearings, or if you want to use the bushings that come with it, but I'm using sealed bearings. I'm using the TAMIYA sealed bearings. So you're going to put one here, like this. Then you're going to put this one on, and then you're going to put another clip on. Both these bearings are on, and this shaft here is going to go. You got a long side and a short side, so this one's going to go on the long side, and you got to, so it'll go in here like this. Okay, all right, and then the gear. This gear right here, it's got the gear's going to go, if you notice, you got a bigger cavity and a smaller cavity, so it's going to go in here. Let's see, make sure I'm doing this right. It's going to go in here like this, and then this shaft, this. So it'll be in here like this. This is our axle sub-assembly. We got one clip here, two bearings, two sealed bearings on each axle, one sealed bearing there, one sealed bearing there, a clip and a clip, or E-clips, and then the third member, all right? So this is gonna also, I already got the input shaft. I'll show, and I already got the clip on it, so it goes here. But anyway, I'll go ahead and show you how that's done. You can put the sealed bearings in here, or if you choose to use the bushings, sealed bearing one on each side, and then the shaft, or the gear, pinion gear it's called. And once you get that in, then you got a clip that's going to go here. You lay the clip in there and take your needle nose pliers and that's it. That was pretty easy. So anyway, so you can use each half, whichever half you want to lay it in. So if you want to lay it in this one, make sure your bearings are in the correct place. Okay, it should be laying in there like that with one bearing here. It's got a place for each bearing to go. Also here now, you can put some thinner grease here, but I'm just going to go ahead and put this thicker grease in here. Okay, and that should be enough of grease there. Then this half is going to come together on this. And that's it, all except for putting the screws in, and I'm going to put the screws in. Okay, I got both differentials built up. This is the forward differential. As you can see, it works as it should, where it's nice and smooth. And this is the rear. It's nice and smooth. Okay. All right. One thing that you have to look for whenever you go to attach it to the chassis is on the front one, see these little bumps, they're going to go down. Okay. Also, so they'll be facing down. The bump stops will be facing down. And then on the rear bump stops will be facing down. So there's the large part of this right here where the gear is, they're going to be opposite of each other. This one's going to be over toward the left side of the truck if you had it flipped over, and this one will be over toward the right side of the truck, like this. You can see that this big part in the drawing for the rear is on this side, and also you can see on this one, the big part, this part here, is to this side with your bump stops facing down. That's what's going to bump into this. Okay, the way these are going to attach, you got these two brackets here, and you got your shock mounts, and you're going to run these BA1 screws. These are the extra long screws, okay? You're going to run them down through this right here. These are going to go through here. All right. And then they're going to attach to here and use Loctite on these as well, because they subject to come loose, but you want to use a little bit of Loctite in each one. But I'm not going to show me actually doing that, but that's just the gist of it. So I'm going to go ahead and put that part together, and we'll come right back then. Okay, I got both differentials in, and if you notice, there's a slight mismatch here, but that's the way it's supposed to be. They're not supposed to be in complete line with each other. And you, like I said, pay attention which side this is on, and your bump stops always go down. As you can see, this works as it should. Okay, now it's time to attach the F6 and F7s. They come from these cards here. All right, the only difference between the F6 and the F7s is, if you notice, they're mirror images of each other. So the F6s, are the little part that sticks out is this way, F7s is that way. So when you attach these, you always want these to go toward the metal bracket, okay? That's just easy to know. And you're going to use these shoulder bolts here. The ones that goes in here on these brackets are going to use self-locking nuts. They're going to be self-locking nuts here. But the ones that goes in here are not going to be self-locking nuts. They're going to be these nuts here, like this one. All right, so you want to be sure that you use Loctite on it. I'm going to use this thread lock right here on these particular ones instead of what come with it, because I want to make sure that these never can come off, because they can come off. There's a lot of movement on these, so they can actually come loose. I had one to come loose on my other truck. So that's where I'm at now. I'm fixing to attach all these, and then we'll come back and attach. Okay, I got both differentials in, and if you notice, there's a slight mismatch here, but that's the way it's supposed to be. They're not supposed to be in complete line with each other. And you, like I said, pay attention which side this is on, and your bump stops always go down. As you can see, this works as it should. Okay, now it's time to attach the F6 and F7s. They come from these cards here. All right, the only difference between the F6 and the F7s is, if you notice, they're mirror images of each other. So the F6s, are the little part that sticks out is this way, F7s is that way. So when you attach these, you always want these to go toward the metal bracket, okay? That's just easy to know. And you're going to use these shoulder bolts here. The ones that goes in here on these brackets are going to use self-locking nuts. They're going to be self-locking nuts here. But the ones that goes in here are not going to be self-locking nuts. they're going to be these nuts here, like this one. All right, so you want to be sure that you use Loctite on it. I'm going to use this thread lock right here on these particular ones instead of what come with it, because I want to make sure that these never can come off, because they can come off. There's a lot of movement on these, so they can actually come loose. I had one to come loose on my other truck. So that's where I'm at now. I'm fixing to attach all these, and then we'll come back and attach. Okay, step C is pretty much completed. I got the dampers on, all 4 dampers. These bars here, and these actually use locking screw, self-locking nuts. These you want to use Loctite on those. And notice that the dog bone is at an offset, but that's the way it's supposed to be. And notice that it does work. Okay, so that pretty much is the most complex part of the whole build up to this point. And then the transmission is going to be the hardest. This was complete step C. Step D would be the transmission, but I'm going to skip over to step E for a second, for just a little bit, because I want to go ahead and put the wheels together. You have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 wheels to build. Okay, so anyway, you just pretty much take the tire and slide it over the and make sure it's seated good on both sides. And then on you can do it on both sides, but I generally just put a little CA glue in maybe 3 places around. Just pull it back and put a little CA glue. And so that's what I'm going to do now. Then I'm using Great Plains Pro CA medium glue, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There's one spot. Two spots. Three spots. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and build all 10 wheels up, and we'll come back and we'll see all the wheels. Okay, we got all 10 wheels built up, all glued together. These 2 are your front wheels. They will get a bearing in each one on each side, and then they'll attach here. So they're almost ready to attach, but I'm not going to do it yet. I'm going to wait. And then these are the rear wheels. If you'll notice, one of them's got a little hex shape in it, and one doesn't. Okay, so these are going to fit together, and then you got 3 screws that you're going to put in that'll hold these 2 halves together. These will be your rear wheels, so you're going to have 4 assemblies of those. And so then I'll come back and do that later. But that's pretty much all the wheels are done, and so that's it for the wheels. Okay, this is step D. This is the transmission. Hobby Concepts, Bob from Hobby Concepts has a great video on building the transmissions and differentials. So his video would be more informative than anything that I can do. But I'll show you some of the things that I'm going to do. But anyway, also he has a transmission that you can buy if you feel intimidated by building a transmission. You can buy it from Hobby Concepts for, I think, like $99, you know. So anyway, right here, we got this piece here. This is where we're going to start at. Notice that on this little cutout right here, okay, then you got a little brass bushing here, okay. So on 3 places, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, you're going to put these rods and use Loctite on those spacers, actually spacers, okay. And then you got a plastic piece here that's going to go here. Notice that it has to go in a certain way. You got a little, I don't know if you can see it good, the little parts that stick out where the little nut goes inside there. So it's pretty self-explanatory when you go to fit it in there. It's got a hex shape for the nut to go in. And you want to use Loctite on those as well, okay? Also, This is your shift mechanism. Okay, I've already assembled it most of the way. Okay, on the shift mechanism, it's pretty well easy. You got these shifting dogs. You got these two face each other, and this one here faces that way. All right. Also, you're gonna have clips. You got these two clips here, a clip here, and a clip here. If you notice on the shaft too, you got a long side where it's a long distance before you get to your little clip, and on this side it's a shorter distance. Okay, and then once you get all that together, there's going to be two more springs that goes here with a little clip, but I haven't put them on there yet. Okay. Also, you got this gear shaft. Okay, this is your shorter gear shaft. Okay, I've already got it assembled. Okay, you're going to go ahead and put this gear on first. You're going to put these two clips on. You can go ahead and put one of the clips on. Then you're going to put this metal gear. This is a metal gear. It can go either way. All right, it goes on a spline. All right. This smaller gear here, it's got a bushing that goes in behind it, a hex-shaped bushing. If you notice, it says short bushing. It's a brass-colored bushing. The other two bushings that look similar are silver-colored, and they're too long to go there, so it won't fit if you go with that one. And also on this end, you got another metal gear, and then the plastic gear that goes over it with a clip. So that's pretty well straightforward. If you notice, you got in the diagram, you got your rod, your shaft here. Then it shows it like this here. And if you notice this view right here, this view is with it turned around. So that's what they're demonstrating in this view. You got the rod like this, then like this, and then with it flipped around like that. Okay. And then you turn over to the next page for the most complex portion of the whole build. And I highly recommend that you go watch Bob's video on this. There's clips that has to go in certain places, and there's these bushings. These bushings here, they have to go in a certain way, so you have to pay attention to detail. You got these two shifting dogs. You got this shifting dog and this shifting dog. They look similar, but this one here's got longer slots for this to go into. Okay, so this is a little bit hard to understand on this picture here. You're going to start off with this view. It shows this one here, that gear here. Okay, going on, and it shows where you put your clips. If you notice on this drawing too, one thing that you notice, you see these little arrows right here? They go through the shaft, and they always point toward the clip. So this clip right here, it's showing this clip is going to go right here. So you know that this shift dog is going to be in this area. Also, you have to put grease on the areas where it's showing dark. Okay. And then it shows you clips here. But so you just, if you notice your little lines, you just follow them, and that's where your little clip is going to go here. Okay, so if you pay attention to that, then you can, it's easier to figure out. Then the next view is going to be with it's turned the same way. Yeah. And then it's going to show this gear being placed here, and this shift dog being placed here. And this bushing, if you notice this bushing, the little part that's right here is going to be facing that way. All right, and then down here, then it's going to show this with this gear right here, and this one right here. The most important thing about this whole thing right here, to me, is there's a shift dog. It says on here, right here, it shows putting these bushings in. It says do not replace with ball bearings. The reason it says do not replace with ball bearings because it may not slide as good if you use ball bearings. So it's suggesting that you use these bushings. So you can choose to use ball bearings if you want to. On this one, I used bushings on that one. The first one I did, I used ball bearings, and it works fine, but I decided I'd just try that one with bushings on this one, you know, to see how it goes. There's really no point, really and truly, in it using bushings or bearings there, because it's not going to rotate on the shaft. It's just going to be sliding back and forth on the shaft. It's going to always go at the same speed as the shaft is, you know. So that's pretty much where I'm at now. I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of it together. I'm not going to show step by step on what I'm doing on the rest of it, because like I said, Hobby Concepts has got a much better video than I could ever do. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it together the rest of the way, and then we'll come back and take a look at it. Okay, we got the transmission together. I got a Spectrum 55 turn motor on here that I got from Tower Hobbies. Also, I'm going to put these aluminum colored covers on the engine this time instead of the black ones. I got these from Hobby Concepts. They were like $10 or something like that. So also too, when you put it together, don't forget that there's a bushing. There's a little plastic bushing that goes between this coupler and the transmission. So that's easy to forget. Just a little thin plastic coupler. Also on the motor, you'll want to make sure that you use a short set screw on the motor, because if you put the long one on there, it could hit this drive gear here. And the way I got the gap between this gear and the motor is I took a piece of thin paper and put between the gear and this gear, and then tighten it down. So now we're going to try to test it running it with a D-size battery. And this is an older battery. I don't know how charged up it is, but if it runs it, then so you can see the transmission is working off of one D-size battery, and I can shift it. Let me get a different battery. Okay, we're testing this motor with a D-size battery. The first battery I had didn't have a full charge on it. It didn't want to run it good, but this one runs it really well. I can shift it, and notice this is low gear, how slow the output shaft turns. It automatically goes to second gear and then to high gear. And it should be fine as long as that D-size battery runs it. This Spectrum motor I got on here is a rebuildable motor from Tower Hobbies. So it should be a really good 55 turn motor. Now I'm going to add a little grease to it. I'm going to put these covers on it, install it in the truck, and that should complete this step. Yeah, you can do that, show that. Then I'll put the screws in it, just put it in the truck. Okay, we're through with the truck all the way through step D. The rear axle's on, the shocks and the springs on the back, the shocks and the springs on the front, and the steering mechanism. The transmission is in, the drive shaft is in, and anyway, we're going to test it out with it connected all the way down with a C-size battery. And if this C-size battery will run it, then it should be fine. And it does. That's just on one C-size battery. And I don't know if the battery is full charged or not. And then
that was good.
okay. And so the next thing will be to, I'm going to do some painting. I'm going to paint the fenders and the cab and all the parts that goes to the cab. And then I already got the wheels built up, so that step's done, all except to putting the two halves together. Putting the two halves together with some screws. That'll be easy. If you can make it to this point right here, you're home free. The rest of it would be child's play compared to the transmission and the differential. This is the hardest part there is to the whole truck. And it's not as intimidating, it's not as difficult as you might think it would be. It's really very easy if you just follow the directions and maybe watch some videos. I encourage you to watch Hobby Concepts videos. His are way better than mine, but anyway, this is where I'm at now, so the rest of it's going to come pretty easy. I'm probably going to do lights on this one as I go along. I'm going to do lights as I do the build. The first one I did lights later, but I think on this one I'm going to go ahead and do the lights on it as I build, you know. And so that's where I'm at now, and the rest of it will come probably in a few days. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and like and make comments if you will. Thank you so much.